Good morning. Mohammad Rahman is Associate Professor of Management in the Krannert School of Management. His research seeks to understand and provide insights related to measurement and quantifying impact of digital transformations led by the internet and related technologies. An important dimension of his research expertise is the economic value of digital traces or digital footprints, especially in driving consumer behavior and improving decision making. Today he will present a talk titled Data, Creepiness, and Convenience, enabling the car to decide for you. Please take a moment to silence your cell phones, but don't put them away. We'd like you live tweeting this under the hashtag Dawn or Doom. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming to this session. My goal here is to really have a conversation about how all these technologies that are being developed in terms of autonomous cars, self-driving cars, intelligent cars, how they're going to change different decision-making scenarios that we encounter on a regular basis, right? And hopefully, we start a conversation, and my goal is to really have some interaction with you at the end, right? Now, before I start, who came here the furthest with the GPS? Who used the GPS today to get here, like your Google? You did? Okay. So your name? Bob? All right. So what I'm going to start with is a video clip. The feature that I'm going to show you is something that you're probably already familiar with, or it exists today. So this is a video clip about something that exists. So let's start with that. Do we have sound here? Okay, great. Oops. So in case you missed it with all the technological issues, right here, let me play it again. Can you turn the lights off?
Nee, wacht even. Wacht even tot we kijken wat er achter ons gebeurt. Eerst kijken wat er achter ons gebeurt. Blijf zitten, rustig blijf zitten. Eerst maar eens even kijken wat er gebeurt.
Niks doen, niet eruit gaan alsjeblieft.
Kom. Nou, even kijken.
Niet eruit gaan. Zet hem eerst aan de kant.
Ja, ik blijf even staan. Ik vind het wel goed. Ik wacht waar ik sta. Kom even kijken.
Jongens, jullie moeten even in de auto blijven zitten. Nee, niet eruit gaan. Nee, ik moet echt uit.
So, all right, let's go back. So you probably have a pretty good idea of what happened there, right? So it's a Tesla, which has its autopilot on a Dutch highway. It figured out the car ahead of it was following the car ahead of that too closely, so there is going to be a crash. So it actually activated this feature and stopped the car and saved the passenger in the Tesla. Now, this feature already exists. If we think about it, all of us are probably going to make the same decision. We do not want to get involved in this car wreck, in this accident, so we will stop that car. So this is great. The car did it for us. Now, if you also noticed, after the accident, different people got out of the car at different times, and some people parked a little further, some closer, some got out right away. Seemed like the Tesla passenger took a little bit of time to see what's going on, and they got out, right? We're all facing the same information set here. So they're all facing the same scenario, but acting very differently. So now, if we think about this, fortunately, we live in West Lafayette, and on a daily basis, I don't deal with this. But many of you probably experience this in other cities. Now, when you're in Google, you can look at your Google map and see, okay, what are the ways out? So you see all these predictions that are possible. You could do this, or do that. Now, given all these options, what we don't know is what different people will do. So different people will take different routes, given these options. Some of us will stay right here, not move, right? Not go on this other alternative route. Some of us will take this route, some of us may take this route or whatnot, right? So again, so if you can see, the increasingly the decision making is not black and white here like the previous one. We all wanted to stop when there is a possibility of an accident. This is a simple mobility. We're trying to go from point A to point B. There are too many options. We still have some preferences. Now, you could train your cars to some extent to do this. Now, for this to work, so this prediction is valid as long as we all are not taking the same route. We don't know how many other people are going to take that same route. We don't know where we are all headed. We cannot expect that we're all doing this point A to B. So even if we think about, okay, we're going to allow our cars to decide, this AI, smart cars to decide, we're still lacking information about all of our other choices. Now, it's all possible if we all agree that we're going to all make it totally possible and transferable about what we're going on a daily basis. So all of you came here, right? So you make it all available that you're heading to this room. Then it's possible to know that, okay, how many people are moving in what ways. But that data is not there, but okay, it's possible. Oops. Okay, I'm not sure how. Okay. Now, so we don't know how many people are rerouting the same way. We don't know where we're all headed. And of course, the big question here is, who is making all these decisions? So even if we want the cars to make all the decisions, so right now, on an average, about 5% of the time people use navigation. So if you want to say, okay, look, Google knows where we're all heading, which Google knows more about you than probably you know about yourself, right? So sure, it would have information about 5% about us, 5% of us, right? So again, we're not going to know exactly, but okay, given technological solutions, we could potentially train our car to know what's going on if we all agree that, okay, the overarching government or some authority would know, do the traffic planning and say, okay, these cars, you go this route, these cars, you take this route. It's potentially possible we don't overload these different routes. But at this moment that we behave in decision making, we don't know how we do that. If you think about driving from Purdue to Indy, right? So the previous one, you know, there is some traffic. You want to avoid that. So there is still a little bit of more structure to this decision making. 65 is probably the fastest route, right? I took this yesterday. And Google was initially telling me to do this. Now, trucks, there will be a lot of trucks on 65. You need more alertness. There will be pit stops if you need one. More accidents, probably. The alternative route, those of you who live in this town, is to take 52. More relaxed. It probably takes about 5 to 10 minutes longer on an average, right? But then, I mean, I personally prefer this. No, I went to India on Saturday. I checked on Google just out of habit, just to see what the traffic is like. It was asking me to take this, not 65. And what happened? Well, because there were some accidents there, so it was asking me to take this. So that means what? If everybody follows that Google queue, this is basically all full. This is what happened when we were having this problem with the bridges and other things, right? And in fact, on Saturday when I was going to India, there were a lot more traffic on 52 than typical, so my sort of peaceful, relaxed driving wasn't totally peaceful, right? So, and then, you know, like you could take this route, 231 and 74. It's a longer route. It's not typically preferable, but when we had the bridge issues on 65, it was preferable for a lot of people. Now, if you think about this, well, there is some, you know, there is, again, choices we're making, judgments we're making that we need our AI, our smart car, to understand about ourselves. If it's my car, it needs to realize that I do not like to see too many trucks, right? When I'm driving, I'm okay with the 5 minutes delay or the 10 minutes delay. I want to go on 52. But that also depends on, do I need a pit stop? There is none on 52, right? So now again, so this is a bit more complex than the previous one. All right, so now Bob came using his GPS, right? Now let's say, let's move on to the West Coast. So I don't know, some of you are probably familiar with this, some of you may not be, right? So if you're coming down from San Francisco south, and if you leave anywhere in between, you typically would take I-5 because that's the fastest route. Now, I-5 is not the most scenic route. It's kind of like 65. The other option is, well, you take this Pacific Highway 101, goes through Monterey and Big Sur, and you enjoy this whole beautiful scenic route. But of course, it's much longer. Now, think about it. So it might be that Bob takes this route, sometimes when he's going back from work to home. And well, it turns out that, on the days when he's taking this route, it's beautiful, gorgeous days. The weather is beautiful. The day is nice. He takes the route. So now, the AI, the car, would learn, because the car needs to learn about you. It doesn't talk to you. It doesn't know what's inside, right? It would learn, okay, when the weather is great, it's a gorgeous day, Bob is going to take this route, and then the self-driving car should basically take you through that, right? But what is possible here that, well, Bob doesn't like too much traffic when he's going down that road. So if other people are acting the same way, all of a sudden this peaceful, sort of relaxing is all gone. So you are not enjoying this scenic route anymore. And when this is congested, it is congested. I have done this. The other possibility is, well, you have too much stress. You have a stressful meeting. You have a very stressful argument with your boss. My PhD student arguing with me. The PhD student takes the route just to relax. It just happens that it's a beautiful day. So now this decision-making scenario is more complex than just, here. The difference was, well, a little bit, it's 5 minutes. If you look at the distances, it's really within 5 minutes. They're all the same. 10 miles. Even if my car makes the wrong decision, the cost is very low. Here, this is not going to be 5 minutes, trust me, if you haven't done this. Now, this gets more complicated because it's not just our mobility. As we have self-driving cars and intelligent smart cars, there will be other parts of our life that will become integral and integrated with the car, such as shopping, such as planning our stops throughout our day. So now what will happen? So think about it. AI lacks information about our judgment. It does not know anything about our judgment. That's the biggest lacking it has. But then as we have more and more things from our life that depends on our car, and the car is involved in those decision making, it needs to know about our judgment. So and let me walk you through a potential disruption that is coming, and it's already happening. And this is where I want to spend the next little bit of time. As we see smart cars, we're probably going to see a smart car becoming a platform for commerce transactions. Now, right now, on an average, people spend more than 45 minutes in their car. It's quite routine in the sense that you go to work, you come back from work, it's kind of repetitive, and often you have chores in between. So naturally, this car will also plan different things for you. Like getting gas, getting coffee, getting your diapers for your kid, getting sort of like grocery, all these things. So if you think about it, what you're saying is, well, this car, in tandem with your smartphone, your smart equipments at home, your fridge, which tells the car, by the way, I need milk, right? Make sure Bob gets milk before he goes back from Dawn and Doom. The car will order the milk for you at some grocery store and stop on the way. Somebody will deliver the milk for you and you go home. Wonderful, right? Life is going to be really good. But think about it. So many decisions. Do you want to stop at Walmart? I don't know. Some of you may not want to stop at Walmart. But that might be the closest path. So car needs to know you don't like Walmart. Well, maybe you're price sensitive. But yes, you're going to go to Walmart if you can save 10%. So up to 10%, you do care about not going to Walmart. If you get a 20% discount, you're okay to go to Walmart. Right? So all of this is going to matter. So we have to make sure that's all characterized and captured in this system that we're talking about. So here's an example. So this is something on OnStar system. I don't know how many of you have that system. GM is trying with IBM Watson. So here the idea was, well, OnStar is alerting this individual that you need to get diaper, and did the whole thing, right? Order it and got it. Now, and these other examples I gave you, so what do we need? Well, what's needed is data about practically everything about your life. Yes, this is going to be extremely convenient. It will be able to do things for us. Technologically, it's going to be possible. But it needs to know a lot of data about you because it learns from data. It can only act based on the data. So it needs to know the plan for the day. Well, how many meetings you have? Where are you going to go, right? If it plans and orders the grocery based on that you're going to leave from your work, and by the way, in the middle you're going somewhere else, that whole plan is gone. Then you got issues. It needs to know your grocery list. It needs to know if you have particular affinity for particular stores. And like maybe on some days you want to go to this store, some other days you want to go to some other store. It needs to know all about that. Now, is it all possible? With IoT, it's ever more possible. Right? With Internet of Things, it's ever more possible because every single thing we do is tracked, can be tracked. If you're taking the shower, and if you have these smart showers, it knows what temperature of the water you like. And it can pass that information that, okay, you took this shower at this temperature today, so maybe your mood is like this. So you're not going to have latte, you're going to have pumpkin spice latte. Right? Now, this is all possible. So long as you don't feel creepy about giving access to all this data. Now, if you look at our behavior, we do give access to a lot of data about ourselves, right? So as long as we create a lot of value, as long as the Googles of the world create a lot of value, I'm not worried about this part. This will be coming. But what's important is not just having the data. The judgment piece is very, very critical. So we could have all the historical data about you, but then the associations we come up with may not be correct. we really truly need to know what's causing your behavior, what's causing your preferences and changing your preferences. So if I go back to my scenic route, Big Sur, right? I don't know how many of you have done that. It's a nice route. So let's assume that, like 60% of the time when the day is gorgeous, Joy takes this route, right? Now, the smart car probably will plan all her stops, food pickup for home, grocery, gym, whatnot, right? Based on the weather. But it could be that she's taking this route 20% of the times just because of the weather, the rest of the time just because she's having a bad time with her boss. Now, you need to know if she is having a meeting with her boss and what was going on in that meeting now. Potentially, your car needs to know how many drinks you had in a party, right? To make sure it plans for the things correctly. Well, if you're completely if you're all drunk last night and you have to give a talk here at 8 a.m., the car probably should be worried, right? So the judgment piece is very important in this. We really have to figure out what causes us to do things. Not just, okay, we do things with this, so it cannot be a coincidence or an association. What causes us to do things is very important to also figure out. So without estimating this true causality, we won't be able to come up with a system that gives you all the value. Now, once we have those causality figured out, bingo, it's great. Now we can change your behavior. I can give Bob 10% and make him go to Walmart, right? And somebody else, I just needs to give him 8%, not 10%. So all this would be awesome, right? There'd be so much more known about you. This could be all influenced. Your choices could be influenced. Now, the next part I want to talk about, okay, so to make this whole thing possible, how can we make the car? So if car is becoming a center of commerce, as I'm arguing, but there are other changes that's going to happen. It's not just causing you to behave in certain ways, but there are other players in this. So if you think about it right now, we're in this mobility world. Our car is enabling us in terms of smart mobility. So you use GPS system to go from one place to another place. There are cars that are doing parking for you. Of course, we saw this video about saving us from crashes. There are cars that actually help people drive if you have some sort of physical disabilities. But then what we're wanting, well, what we're heading toward is, well, this car is going to be also doing shopping stuff. So the house is going to say, this is what we need. The car is going to place orders from different sort of retailers, right? And that would be ready for you to take. Well, it seems all simple until your refrigerator is owned by probably Samsung. Your car is probably BMW or Toyota, right? Your washing machine is probably GE. Your calendar is on Microsoft. You need all these systems to talk to each other to really help this going. So now the data needs to be interoperable between systems, and of course some of you who are in IT, you know what is a legacy system. You got a bunch of legacy systems in here too. So we have data gaps because we need data that will create the knowledge, and then we can take actions. So we need to think about that. So that's not just, so interoperability and data, different vendors, that's not one thing, right? So what's going on here is confidential data that we have, it will create a lot of barrier for us to flow. GE doesn't want Samsung to know what data it got, because data is the biggest real estate right now. So those of you who are in high school, right? your next career is going to be something to do with data, big data, data analytics, right? I mean, it's all about data. It's all about knowing everything about us and then using that to create value. So now, all these companies are not going to give each other data. And make it more complicated. You got Walmart, you got Kroger, you got Meijer, they all try to get your business. And you think the car manufacturer is going to sit there and not make money out of that? I mean, if you're a shareholder of that company, you're going to fire that CEO. Right? So that'll also happen. So now what does that mean? Well, that means if I'm a consumer where I care about only price, my car needs to know the prices of all the items that are sold by this store. So it can calculate and figure out if this is the lowest basket for me. So if that's the only thing I care about, I'm going to tell my car, I don't care. Take me to Walmart, Kroger, Payless. It's a price competition. That's it. So now these retailers need to sort of bid and make sure they come to the lowest price. Well, maybe that's not what you care about. You care about the quality. This gets more complicated now. You know, we don't all go to the cheapest store. Then there will be no reason for having so many different kinds of stores. You know, like if you go in Chicago on Magnificent Mile, there are these designer stores. There's some guy wearing a suit opening the door for you, right? Most days when I'm wearing my jeans, they don't even open the door for me. I'm not allowed, right? So the point is, you know, so all of this is going to matter. So there's a lot of this confidential data that we need to flow. We need to know about all this individual private data. What you eat, what you drink. If you're drinking all your wine throughout the week, that means, you know, you're not just drinking over the weekend, you're drinking during the weekdays too. Somebody will get to know if this data is passed, right? I mean, we hear about Facebook being used for, you know, giving you a job. Maybe this could be used for giving you a job. Or not. So we need all this data transfer to happen. Now, oops, sorry. I'm kind of confused with this. So this data transfer needs to happen for this to work. Now, what we have here at Purdue, we're working on, so I'm working with some colleagues from computer science and some students in mechanical engineering on a platform we have where we can do this collaborative platform. So where we can do all the data sharing from the manufacturers, from the retailers, from the store without seeing any of the data. So you have total ownership of your data. We don't see anything. We do all the computation, and then we order things for you. So that's how we're saying, okay, this is how we're going to preserve the privacy and the confidentiality of your data so your employers don't get to know that, by the way, you're drinking too much wine at home. Right? Like when you're really upset in the morning, it's not because you have too much work, it's because what you had last night. So this is what we got. Now, so you know, I mean, I walked you through different sort of decision-making scenarios. So let me now sort of pitch for, okay, why would we like to involve cars in our decision-making? It's not all about, okay, yes, there is a lot of data sharing and everything that will happen, or it is required. And as I said, if we learn from our current behavior, it's probably going to happen. But then what are the potential benefits? Well, so you can basically preserve all the data ownership and save us from a lot of decision biases, cognitive biases that we have as individuals. So if you think about it, generally in West Lafayette, there is no traffic. I can predictively tell you how long it's going to take from my home to my office. It's about 12 minutes. If there's a light, it's 13 minutes. Okay? But on days like this, all of a sudden that 13 is so unpredictable, right? Now, what could happen is as individuals, we make decisions where we have biases. So like one of the biases is sunk cost bias. The idea here is that if you're stuck in this traffic, let's say you spend half an hour. That's all sunk. You spent half an hour already. What you do next should not be influenced by the fact that you already spent half an hour. But we all know that we're often highly influenced by what we have done. So, it happened to me. I'm stuck on a highway. I spent like half an hour. I see my Google is saying, take this. Like, no. I spent half an hour here. I'm going this way. I'm not taking this alternative route. Right? So it can potentially save us from that. Framing effect basically means given the same information, we behave differently. But a machine is unlikely to behave differently. Right? Optimism bias. We often are quite optimistic, right? It looks like we spent half an hour. It's a long gridlock. It'll be over in 15 minutes. Right? Let me just get through it. It's all red. Yeah, it's always red. Before you leave from home, you see it's completely packed. Yeah, by the time I get there, it'd be okay. This is what happens to me, right? So, I go to Chicago. I look at the traffic. Yeah, it's 9 o'clock in the morning, right? So it's downtown traffic. You got to get through downtown Chicago. It's bad. I'm thinking, you know what? By the time I'm there, it'll be all gone. All the people will be in the office. Most cases, I'm wrong. But if you delegate your decision making to this card, the technology, it can potentially save you from these biases. Now, I don't have any evidence from cars yet because we don't have those kind of things yet. But I can tell you from some of the studies I did in other contexts where this is possible. And let me walk you through one of the studies that I've done so you can see that we have evidence that if you allow technologies to make decisions, it can help you make better decisions. So this is the auction setup. I don't know how many of you are aware of it. It's kind of evil. It's evil in the sense that you pay for placing every single bid. So if you place a bid, you pay 50 cents. But when you go to this website, there are many of them, you'll get great deals. So an Apple TV, which is retailing, according to them, for $99, you could potentially get it for $2. So the way it works is if you place a bid, it's going to cost you 50 cents. And whatever the winning bid is, that's what you pay. So if you place 10 bids, you spend $5 on bidding, and let's say the price here is at that point $5, so you total pay $10 for this TV. What a great deal, right? Now, it also has this clock. So the way it works is, so at this moment, Shin could get this product if nobody bids in 15 seconds, right? If somebody else bids, the price will go up by a cent, and this will go up by 15 more seconds. Simple, right? Good deals? So this is how it works, right? So if you look at this, you could get this $99 product for pretty cheap, right? 98% discount. I don't know, you can get that anywhere else in pretty 15 seconds, right? So now let's see how this works, right? So like, clock is going down. Somebody else bids. So you got the idea, right? That's how it works. Now, I'm not going to get into the details of this, but I'll tell you what it allows me to do. So now let's say, like in this case, the winner, Vish, got it for $4. Great deal. Now, I'm not worried about him, but a bunch of other people they also participate and spend money in the bidding process, right? So let's say, other people, Bob, Terry, they spend money on this. And that's all gone because you lost. And what this site, this kind of auctions allow you to do is, well, they already told you that the price for this product is $99 if you want to buy it right now. If you don't want to go through the whole auction process, you can get it from us for 99 bucks. Okay? And after you're done, they'll give you some offers. Now, this is all known. It's public before you start. It's typically 5% higher than Amazon price itself, right? So the way it works is, well, what it tells you that, okay, after you're done, whatever you spend, so if you spend like $10 on bidding, so if you spend if you did 20 bids, so let's say Terry spent 20 bids, meaning $10 in the bidding process and lost the auction, they'll say, hey, you can take that $10 in credit and pay us $89. We'll give you the TV. Now, that $10, should we be worried about it? That's sunk. You already spent it. Forget about it. What you should care about is, well, whether or not it makes sense to buy it for $89. I should not worry about getting it this $10. You already wasted it. You already lost the auction. If the TV is going for 80 bucks on Amazon, and you're getting it for $89, what is the rational thing to do? Don't get it from here. Don't get it from here. But what do you think people do? They don't want to waste their $10. This is exactly what I got from the data from the auction site themselves. So this is what people do. So when people bid themselves, all 20 bids themselves, sitting there, clicking, going through the whole process, they're far more likely to do so they would buy that TV. They'd fall into what's called sunk cost fallacy. But they have another option. They could let some computer program, some agents, they could just configure the website and say, okay, you do the bidding for me. I'm not going to play with it. And when they do that, this probability goes down like this. So in other words, when we are doing the decision making ourselves, when we're totally involved in it, we're far more likely to fall into these cognitive biases than when we allow the technology to do some of the work for us. We're more objective. So basically when this $10 was spent by you, you're 50% more likely to do the wrong thing. When this same $10 is spent by your software agent, you don't make that decision the same way. So essentially, if we can delegate some of the decision making to our smart cars, it will alleviate some of the biases. It will probably save me from getting stuck and not being so skeptical about taking this exit, and and also having a happy wife, because my wife gets upset that I don't take those things. So some of my closing thoughts, I'm almost running out of time here. So if you think about AI, still really purposed for limited tasks, like stopping the car. So sort of like very focused one or two, it's what in my word is called small worlds, right? But we live in a big world. Our life involves a lot of judgments in the big world constantly. I guess one of the example that goes around with smart car as well, if you have somebody who is in the car and driving, and you have your kid in the car, and then you have a human being who's jumping in front of you, and the car figures out that your probability of dying is 70%, and the probability of that guy dying is 30% if it stops, what would it do? It'll kill you because you're 70%, right? Save that person. As a human being, if your kid is in the back, what are you going to do? We don't know. It's very hard to teach that car what you're going to do. So those judgments are very critical things to really figure out. Now, also a very important thing, and I know from some of my other studies, technology, we often expect things because of technology. Technologically we see things so beautiful, like for example, you're buying furniture online, you see these furnitures are awesome, right, in the picture. Because they have the right lighting, they have the right carpet, they have the right sort of background, they have everything. And you feel like they're going to look as beautiful in your home. When they come, at least my home is not that way. Okay? So they don't look that beautiful. So the expectations, if they're unrealistic, we're going to be very, very unhappy with the deliveries we're going to get from technology. So we have to be kind of realistic in terms of getting the value out of the technology. And then I'm sure there'll be so many disruptions and different new business models we're going to see. So we have to be ready for them. The simple smartphone we have completely disrupted the retail industry as we know it. Amazon buying Whole Foods. Walmart is all about online, right? 10 years ago, you couldn't even think that. So be prepared for that. I think this is the next sort of disruption thing we're going to see. That's all I got. Thank you so much.